we headed today?
This time we're going to unlock the secrets of data sets.
Oh, data sets. Those things are just rows and columns, right? What's so exciting about that?
Well, you'd be surprised. It's not just about numbers, it's about the stories those numbers tell. We're going to dive into how demographics, surveys, even those social media posts you scroll through every day can be used in qualitative research.
Whoa, okay, I'm intrigued. So we're going beyond just the quantitative stuff and digging into the qualitative side of data sets.
Exactly. And to help us navigate this fascinating world, we've got our expert guide right here.
Well, it's funny because we often think about data sets as being purely quantitative.
Yeah, for sure. Like just hard numbers.
Right, but the truth is, they're full of qualitative data too, just waiting to be discovered.
Like hidden treasures.
Exactly. Think about those open-ended survey responses, comments on social media posts, or even the visual stories and images. It's all about knowing where to look and having the right tools to decode those messages.
So it's like finding hidden messages within the data.
You got it. Let's take travel experiences, for example.
Okay, I love to travel.
Who doesn't? So you might have a data set with demographics like age, country, or profession, but then you also have open-ended responses about what people loved or disliked about their trips.
Right, like those reviews you see online.
Exactly. So instead of just seeing that X% of people enjoy traveling to a certain destination, we could actually understand why different age groups or people from different countries are drawn to it.
That makes so much sense. So we're not just looking at numbers, we're understanding how people from different walks of life experience and talk about travel.
Exactly, and that's where NVivo comes in. It's this super helpful qualitative data analysis software. It helps make sense of these complex data sets by mapping those responses to demographics. Imagine creating a word cloud for travel. Instead of one big cloud, you have it broken down by age group.
Ooh, like a word cloud for each age group.
That's cool. Right. You might find that younger travelers emphasize words like adventure and exploration, while older travelers might prioritize relaxation or culture.
Wow, that's really interesting. You could practically build entire marketing campaigns around those insights. Like if you knew that younger travelers were looking for adventure, you could tailor your messaging and imagery to appeal to that.
Absolutely. And that's just scratching the surface. Think about applying this approach to any field: market research, product development, even understanding social trends.
It really makes you rethink the potential of data sets. So we've established that they're not just about numbers, but what happens when we combine data sets with other types of qualitative data.
Oh, that's when things get even more interesting. We can integrate different data types, like interviews or surveys, to create a much richer understanding. It's like piecing together a puzzle. Interviews might provide the deep why behind a trend, surveys capture the what and when, and data sets offer that broader context of who's saying what.
So it's like each data source adds a different layer of understanding, helping us see the full picture.
You got it. And we have a great example of this in action. Back in 2022, some researchers, Ram and Titarenko, published this study about social media in project management.
Interesting. So how did they use data sets in this research?
Well, they combined survey data, including open-ended responses, with demographic information about job titles.
Ooh, clever.
Right. They used NVivo to see how people in different roles viewed social media's impact on their work.
That's so smart. So they could see if, say, project managers had different concerns about social media compared to senior executives.
Exactly. They could analyze how those job roles influence people's perceptions of social media's challenges in the workplace.
It makes me think about how this could be applied to something like, I don't know, improving employee engagement. Imagine seeing how demographics like age or department intersect with interview responses about company culture. You could uncover so many hidden connections and patterns.
Absolutely. By weaving together these different data sources, we gain a much deeper, more actionable understanding. It's like having a multi-dimensional view of a situation instead of just a flat snapshot.
Okay, that's blowing my mind a little. Now, you mentioned social media data earlier, and I gotta admit, that's one area I'm super fascinated by. It seems like a goldmine for understanding how people think and communicate online.
It is. Researchers are increasingly tapping into platforms like, X, Instagram, and TikTok to study a whole bunch of topics.
I bet. From health behaviors to consumer trends, I can only imagine.
You're right on. Can you believe there was a study published in 2019 that used Instagram to analyze content related to the HPV vaccine?
No way. What did they find?
Well, the researchers were able to gain insights into health behaviors and how young people are exposed to information about vaccines, all by analyzing public posts and discussions.
Oh, that's incredible. It's like having a window into people's lives and thoughts all through their social media activity.
It really is. And then in 2023, another researcher used TikTok to study how content creators leverage their identities to build those personal brands.
Oh, that's so relevant. We see influencers everywhere these days.
I know, right? This type of research is incredibly valuable for understanding influencer marketing and how online personalities connect with their audiences.
Okay, I'm definitely going to be looking at my social media feeds differently now. It's amazing to think that researchers are using these platforms to understand such a wide range of topics. But how do they actually analyze all of that data? It seems so vast and complex.
You're telling me. Luckily, NVivo is here to save the day again.
Okay, so tell me everything about how NVivo helps researchers tame this beast of social media data.
Well, one of the best features is that it can directly import data from social media platforms.
Really? That's going to save so much time.
Right, whether it's text, images, or even videos, NVivo can handle it all. No more manual data entry, which is a huge time saver.
So it's like a universal translator for social media data.
I like that. And once you import all that data, NVivo really shines with its analytical power. Imagine having thousands of tweets about a certain topic, right?
Right, like way too many to go through by hand.
Exactly.
Right.
NVivo can automatically group those tweets based on things like keywords, hashtags, or even sentiment, which allows researchers to identify patterns and trends quickly.
Oh, wow, that would take forever to do manually.
I know, right? Plus, there's this super powerful tool called a query.
A query, what's that?
Think of it like asking a specific question of your data. You could ask, what are the most common emotions expressed in tweets about this new product? Or how does sentiment towards this brand differ between age groups?
So it's like having a conversation with the data itself.
Exactly. And it's super valuable for businesses trying to understand customer sentiment or track brand perception.
This really opens my eyes to the potential of social media research. But before we dive too deep into that, I want to shift gears a bit and talk about how NVivo helps us make sense of data sets in general.
Okay, sounds good.
We talked about how it can handle social media data, but what about other types of data sets, like those from surveys or spreadsheets?
Oh, NVivo's got you covered. It can import data from tons of different sources, including Excel, SurveyMonkey, Qualtrics, and even text documents.
So no matter the format, you can bring all of your data together in NVivo.
Exactly. It becomes this central hub for analysis.
That sounds incredibly convenient. But once you have all that data in one place, what happens next?
Well, that's when the real magic happens.
Ooh.
NVivo has a whole toolkit of features designed to help researchers organize, analyze, and make sense of their data. One of the most helpful features is called coding.
Coding. Sounds a bit technical. Can you break it down for me?
Think of it like tagging your data with meaningful labels. For example, let's say you're analyzing interview transcripts.
Okay, I'm following.
You might create codes for themes like customer satisfaction, product features, or competitor analysis. Then, as you read those transcripts, you can apply these codes to the relevant sections.
Oh, so it's like highlighting the most important parts and giving them a specific name.
Exactly. Then, once you've coded your data, NVivo can show you how those codes appear, how they relate to each other, and even how they connect to demographic information.
That's awesome. It's like creating a map of your data, revealing all the hidden connections and pathways.
I love that analogy. And to make things even better, NVivo helps visualize these connections with charts, diagrams, and even word clouds.
I'm a visual learner, so I appreciate that. It's amazing how NVivo can take something that could be super complex and make it more manageable.
Right. It even becomes exciting.
It really does. But before we wrap up, I want to touch on one more thing. How does NVivo help us manage and query our data effectively?
That's a good point. A lot of researchers struggle with keeping track of everything, especially when they're working with large data sets.
It can be overwhelming.
I know.
Yeah.
But NVivo helps you stay organized by creating folders, assigning attributes to data, and making it easy to search and filter. It's like having a personal librarian for all your data.
A personal librarian? I could use one of those.
Right. And it's not just about keeping things tidy. It's also about being able to ask specific questions of your data. That's where those queries come in handy.
Right, the queries. So you can use those to get specific answers to your research questions.
Exactly. You could ask things like, what are the most common themes emerging from interviews with satisfied customers? Or how do attitudes towards climate change differ between different age groups?
So you're basically having a conversation with the data, trying to understand what it's telling you.
You got it. And NVivo's querying system lets you do both simple and complex queries. So you can start basic and get more sophisticated as you go.
This is amazing. It sounds like NVivo isn't just for analyzing qualitative data, but is really a comprehensive platform for managing and exploring information.
That's a great way to put it. The possibilities are endless. Researchers in so many fields are using it. Healthcare, education, marketing, social science. It's really making a huge impact.
How are researchers using NVivo to make sense of all that social media data? Any cool examples?
Tons. One area that's really taking off is public health.
Oh, interesting. Like how?
Imagine trying to understand how people talk about a certain disease or health condition online.
Okay, yeah.
With NVivo, you can analyze thousands of tweets, blog posts, even forum discussions to pinpoint the main themes and concerns.
That's so valuable. You could use that information to create more targeted public health campaigns, right?
Exactly. You could even spot emerging health trends before they become widespread.
That's incredible. Are there any other examples of how NVivo's is being used in health research?
Oh, for sure. Researchers are using it to understand things like mental health stigma and vaccine hesitancy. They're even using it to track the spread of infectious diseases by looking at patterns in social media posts about symptoms.
It's like having a real-time pulse on what people are experiencing and thinking.
It is. And it's not just limited to health. Social media research is impacting so many fields.
Like what?
Well, marketing, for one.
Mhm.
Businesses are using NVivo to analyze customer feedback, track brand sentiment, and identify influencers.
I can see how that would be super helpful for businesses. It's like having a direct line to their customers' thoughts.
Exactly. Plus, social media data is constantly flowing, so businesses can use NVivo to keep an eye on changes in sentiment and adjust their strategies.
That's so smart. They're basically getting real-time feedback on their brand. Are there any other ways businesses are using NVivo?
Definitely. They're analyzing employee feedback, looking at trends in the job market, even understanding how social media impacts workplace culture.
It sounds like NVivo is a must-have for anyone trying to understand social media, whether it's for health, business, or just keeping up with the latest trends. But with all this data being analyzed, it makes you wonder about the ethical side of things, right?
Absolutely, that's a crucial point. Just because information is public doesn't mean it's ethical to use it for research. We need to consider people's privacy and make sure we're not using data in a harmful way.
So how do researchers make sure they're being ethical, especially when dealing with social media data where people might be sharing personal stuff?
Transparency is key. Researchers need to be open about what they're doing and why, and get people's consent whenever possible. They also need to be careful about anonymizing data to protect people's identities.
It's all about respecting the people behind the data and using it responsibly.
Exactly. Ethics should always be top of mind, especially when it comes to social media research.
You know, as we talk about all the cool things NVivo can do, I'm realizing it's so much more than just a data analysis tool. It's like a creative partner helping researchers see things in new ways and tell compelling stories with their data.
Data without a story is just a bunch of numbers. But when we use NVivo to uncover those hidden connections and insights, we can create a narrative that really makes people think.
And those stories can make a difference. They can change how we approach public health, influence business decisions, even shape social policies. It's pretty powerful stuff.
It really is. And it's all thanks to the power of qualitative research and tools like NVivo that are making it easier than ever to find those stories.
You know, all this talk about NVivo's features and techniques makes it easy to get lost in the technical stuff, but at the end of the day, it's about helping researchers tell stories.
Exactly. It's about finding those human connections within the data and sharing them with the world.
I love that. And speaking of stories, one of the things that blows me away about NVivo is that it can handle all kinds of data, not just text. Images, audio, even video. How does it do that?
NVivo is a master of versatility. It can pull in data from so many different sources, like social media, surveys, recordings, video files, you name it.
That's incredible. So you could analyze like not just what people say in tweets, but also their facial expressions in a video interview.
You got it. It helps us understand the visual and auditory aspects of data along with the text, which gives us a much richer picture.
I bet. That would be so helpful for understanding things like nonverbal cues or the emotional impact of a message. Are there special features in NVivo that help with multimedia analysis?
Oh yeah, tons. One of the best ones is that you can transcribe audio and video directly within NVivo. No more spending hours manually typing everything out.
That's a huge time saver. What else can it do?
Well, you can code directly on images and videos. So you could say, code different parts of an image based on the people or objects you see, or code different parts of a video based on the speaker's tone of voice or body language.
That's mind-blowing. It's like adding a whole other layer of depth to the analysis, considering not just what's being said, but also how it's said.
Exactly. And this kind of analysis can be super insightful, especially when you're looking at complex human behavior and emotions.
This is seriously making me rethink what qualitative research can do. It's so much more than just analyzing words on a page.
I know, right? It's about understanding the whole spectrum of human expression, whether it's through words, pictures, sounds, or even gestures.
NViva is opening up all sorts of new possibilities. It's like it's giving researchers a new language for understanding the world.
I love that. It really is helping us unlock new ways of seeing and understanding things.
As exciting as all this is, we gotta stay grounded too. With all these advanced features, it's easy to forget that NVivo's core purpose is to help researchers tell stories with data.
Beautifully said. Data without a story is just a collection of facts and figures. But with NVivo, we can turn those facts and figures into something that truly resonates with people.
And those stories can have real-world impact. They can help us solve problems, make better decisions, and even change the way we think about the world.
That's the power of qualitative research, and NVivo is making it more accessible than ever.
This has been such an insightful conversation. I feel like we've just scratched the surface of what's possible with NVivo and data sets.
I know, right? It's such a vast and fascinating field.
But for now, we've reached the end of our deep dive. Before we say goodbye, I want to shift gears one last time and talk about the future of this whole data analysis thing. What are some of the challenges and trends researchers are dealing with now that we're swimming in data?
That's a great question. We're definitely in this age of data explosion, which is both exciting and a bit daunting.
I can imagine. Especially with the rise of big data, from social media, the Internet of Things, all of that. How are researchers even keeping up with the sheer volume of information?
Traditional qualitative methods, those manual coding and analysis techniques, just can't keep up.
So what are they doing?
They're turning to new tools and technologies, like machine learning and artificial intelligence, to help automate some of the more tedious tasks.
So it's like humans and machines teaming up to tackle the data deluge.
Exactly. What's exciting about machine learning is its speed. These algorithms can process tons of data much faster than any human, which lets researchers analyze these massive data sets and find patterns they might have missed otherwise.
That's like having a super-powered research assistant. But what about the human element? Don't we still need people to interpret the results and make sense of everything?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Machine learning is a powerful tool, but it's still just a tool. We need human researchers to interpret the findings, bring in their expertise, and tell the story behind the data.
So it's a partnership then. Machines help us with the heavy lifting, but humans bring the critical thinking and creativity to the table.
Exactly. It's this amazing collaboration between human and machine intelligence.
That's really cool. It feels like we're on the verge of a whole new era of discovery. But with these new capabilities come new responsibilities, right? We can't just go wild with all this data.
You're absolutely right. As we embrace big data and machine learning, we have to be extra careful about the ethical implications. We need to watch out for biases in our algorithms, protect people's privacy, and use these tools responsibly.
It's not enough to just have the data and the tools. We need to use them thoughtfully and ethically. Remember, every data point represents a real person.
Well said. Data ethics is becoming more and more important as we enter this new era of data-driven research.
This has been such a thought-provoking conversation. The world of dataset analysis is changing so quickly, and it's exciting to see where it's headed. But for now, we've reached the end of our deep dive.
It's been a pleasure exploring with you.
Likewise. And to our listeners, thank you for joining us on this adventure. We hope you've gained a new appreciation for the stories hidden within datasets and the tools that help us unlock them.
Remember, every data set is a potential goldmine of knowledge and understanding. So stay curious, keep exploring, and don't be afraid to dive deep.
On that note, we'll wrap up this episode of The Deep Dive. Until next time.